Live. How's everybody doing today? My name's Alan Roberts. I'm here by myself today. Mark is busy. And so this is just a kind of a special time anyway, because 6 p.m. Eastern time. We're normally live Monday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. However, Mark and I are going to be coming to you live tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time to live review the Bobby Kennedy announcement, the RFK announcement. So please do join us then. Today, I'm not gonna go through the topics of the day. I have this on my YouTube also, Alan Roberts YouTube, just because this kind of is a crossover about what I normally talk about. You see, besides evening rants with Mark, for those of you that don't know, I, as a profession, help people go from morbidly obese weights to healthy states. I myself have lost over 100 pounds and kept it off, best-selling weight loss author, those sorts of things. And today, I'm noticing more and more and more that obesity has become rather political in multiple ways. So I thought I'd talk about this. And one of the reasons why we're talking about this is because a young lady, I believe her name is Olivia Juliana, a 21-year-old, incredibly huge fat woman, spoke at the DNC. And I am not going to judge whether she should speak or not, because that is not my business. However, I will point this out. I'm going to show you the video clip, then I'll show you what she says. But it seems that the party that wants to try to make everybody be a victimization class is now going to start using the obesity portion of this. And this has been happening because if you look just anywhere with the people from like the fat acceptance / body positivity movement, it's not hard to guess how they vote. And it's sad that we're like this. Like, we've become two separate people in society. We've become, people that just want to be left alone, believe in liberty and freedom and stuff like that. And then there's these people with blue hair and shit. So, not that everybody with blue hair is crazy, but we might want to check out to see if there's some sort of correlation between blue hair dye and being absolutely fucking crazy. Because it seems to be a pretty good anecdotal study that 99.9% of the people in the last 4 years I've seen it has blue or green or, rainbow hair is completely batshit fucking nuts. So I just think we should think about things in that way. But we're going to listen to this, and then I'll go into a few other reasons why I believe that being obese has become a political, topic. But let's talk about this young lady first. Here we go. Add this to the stage. This is Olivia Juliana. And before we even get anywhere, she's 21 years old. To the family and friends of Olivia Juliana, what's your guys' problem? Like, she is not okay. She looks like she's extremely low muscle mass with large fat deposits, including around the midsection for visceral fat, and just the enormity of the woman. We should be really concerned. Like, if it's what strikes me as weird oftentimes is like the people that claim that I'm very mean and people like me are very mean. When we say, you know what, you're morbidly obese, you should lose weight because it's bad for you, it's bad for society, it's an extra strain on our healthcare system, it disproportionately burdens society when it comes to our food resources, emergency use resources, and healthcare resources. It's even bad for the planet because the overconsumption that is the cause of obesity. Obesity is 100% of the time caused by overconsumption because matter is not created out of nothing. It's selfish privilege to be morbidly obese in our society today for many reasons, which we'll get to in a couple more minutes also. Now, let's listen to Olivia Juliana at the DNC. She says, we will only be heard if we vote. As the saying goes, if you're not on the table, you're on the menu. Now, I don't know who told this young lady that she should say these things, like who wrote her speech for her, because if you believe that they just handed a 21-year-old fat woman a microphone and said, hey, say whatever you want at the DNC, you're fucking crazy. They don't even let Kamala Harris say whatever the fuck she wants on camera. And it's super clear, so we all know this. But Let's listen to what this young lady has to say. I really didn't believe when I saw this clip, when I saw this post, I really didn't believe that she actually said those words. But lo and behold,
this November, I'll cast my first vote in a...
You can look down and look at the waist circumference, your waist to height ratio, by the way, which is you basically take your, oh, you can't really see with this, but right underneath your rib cage right here, you take the measurement around your stomach right there, divide that by your measurement in the same measuring increments by your height measurement, and that gives you your waist to height ratio. If that is above 0.6, you are considered severely obese. Hers is probably a 1. Like, she's probably as round as she is tall. And for any human being, that is a death sentence, an early death sentence, along with a lot of serious pain and, chronic illness and, burden to everybody around you. It's burden. Obesity is societal burden. Please remember that.
Presidential election ever. The fact is, our right...
So, in case you missed that, she said this is the first time she's voting ever. She's 21. To accumulate this mass by that age is staggering. I also find it funny how, if you look, they made sure to put her in front of every minority person they could possibly find. That is kind of sad, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it seem like she is also somehow a member of a minority group, which, if you are fat, you are in the majority. We are well over 50% obesity, especially after the great fattening of 2020. But it's this thing where we're trying to pretend like fat people are marginalized, where fat people are in fact, they are suppressed or oppressed by society, when in fact you guys are destroying our fucking society. The overconsumption that leads to the vast majority of the chronic illnesses that we have is causing an overusage of our healthcare system and resources to a shared societal burden of $4.5 trillion for it total. And then if you count, as the CDC says on their own website, that 90% of that is from chronic and mental illness. And then you also look farther on the CDC website and you see that about 80 to 85% of that is by lifestyle-driven comorbidities. So people that eat too much, drink too much, and smoke too much account for, if you do the math, about $3.3 trillion in shared societal burden per year. So if you're wondering why you barely even use your healthcare insurance and it keeps going up and up and up and up, it's because people are getting fatter and fatter and fatter, and we have more people that are disproportionately using our healthcare resources than anything else. Now you're going to wonder, like, wow, that's kind of crazy. Why aren't we saying something about this? Because you would think that a country that's $35 trillion in debt, going on $36 trillion in debt now, would, I don't know, kind of pay attention to something that is causing 3.3 trillion extra, unneeded, selfishly acquired dollars in expenditure. But we'll just let her continue speaking here real quick.
Right to vote is under attack.
I'm going to go back here real quick.
Right to vote is under attack. Election ever. The fact is, our right to vote is under attack.
How is anybody's right to vote under attack? I still don't understand this. I still don't understand that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not expecting her to put together good talking points. One, I don't think she wrote any of this. And two, being morbidly obese for your developmental age, which I am assuming that she's been morbidly obese since she was a toddler, because it takes a long time to amass 3 human beings worth of fat. I'm going to assume that her brain is not as big as it should be, because statistically, scientifically, in proven studies, people that grow up morbidly obese don't develop as much gray matter as if they would have if they were lean. Reality exists. Not to mention that, but being as fat as she is, of course, there is a thing called neuroinflammation, because when you're morbidly obese, your body is in a systemic state of inflammation at all times. So that does go over the brain-blood barrier and cause neuroinflammation. And neuroinflammation causes decline in cognitive function and executive function of the brain. And executive function of the brain happens to be like problem solving, self-startedness, critical thinking. So we're expecting folks that are morbidly obese and have grown up morbidly obese to have critical thinking skills when they are at a physiological disadvantage. Not to mention the fact that to get to be, refrigerator sizes this woman is, there's undoubtedly a large portion of her food in ultra-processed foods. And seeing as how most of America eats about 60% of their total daily intake in ultra-processed foods, that would likely be a little higher for this person. Now, if you look at the studies that go towards brain function and ultra-processed foods, a study out of Brazil showed that if you followed people from 6 to 10 years, the mean being 8, and they ate 20% ultra-processed foods, that those folks that ate 20% of ultra-processed foods for a mean of 8 years had a 28% increase in decline function cognitively and a 25% increase of decline in executive function. So imagine if she's eating like 70% for most of her life while she's developing, right? Like, we expect these people to be rational, and they're not. I have dealt with the fat acceptance community, the body positivity community, for roughly 6-7 years now. There's even a documentary called The Dark Side of Fat Acceptance, which you can watch for free on Tubi, about how they tried to cancel me before being canceled was cool, like in 2018, 2019. So just for the reference, she's trying to say that our voting rights are under attack, and I don't know how. I don't understand how she means this. I mean, is this the far left thing, like that they want you to have an ID to vote because they think that that is racist? Which, by the way, to think that black people can't get IDs is pretty fucking racist. Just saying. So let's continue to listen to the appliance-sized woman talk.
I've seen it. Long wait lines. People blocked from registering to vote.
Well, people being blocked from being registered to vote is because they're here fucking illegally. And long lines, I'm sure, may be a barrier to you because, gravity exists and shit. But you're not being blocked from voting by standing in line for a long time. You see, it's our right and how we run our country. I'd stand in line for a fucking week if I had to vote. Right? You people are weak as shit. It's pathetic.
Texans denied our voice. Donald Trump's Republicans are making it harder for us to vote.
How is that happening? Donald Trump's Republicans. So Donald Trump is on the federal level. He's, he is basically applying to be president of the United States again after he won in 2016 and then won again in 2020, but they cheated him out of it. And how is Donald Trump's Republicans doing this? I thought Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were in office. I thought that, for a long while that the Democrats were running. Shit, how do you still have problems with this when 12 out of the last 16 years have been run by Democrats? So if you're having trouble voting, if you think that your rights to vote are being suppressed, shouldn't you be blaming the Democrats instead of, I don't know, trying to suck on their cock?
But we won't let them get away with it.
What are you going to do? Waddle over and stop me? Like, I find this funny too, like how people will be like, we're not going to do anything like this, which the pause screen I have on is hilarious. But what do you think you're going to do? You won't allow what? Like, I could distract you by throwing Twinkies to the left. I don't understand. I don't get it.
And Kamala Harris won't let them get away with it either. She's fought for our freedoms. When did she fight for anybody's freedoms? As far as I know, she's been putting a lot of black men and women in jail. When has she fought for anybody's freedoms? The only freedom I think that I see her fighting for, or well, just fighting by absence of action, is the freedom of people to walk across our southern border illegally and then all of a sudden enter our welfare system. The only freedom I think she's actually fought for was raising money to bail out burglars and rapists and stuff like that out of jail when they rioted over a crackhead. So I don't understand who she's fought for, technically. She's fought for our voice, but we will only be heard if we vote.
I would love to hear her produce any actual thing that Kamala Harris has done to fight for her right to vote. Like what Kamala Harris has done for her, the large woman on the screen, for her to vote. I would love to hear this. I would love to hear an example. It's the same thing like you see these street interviewers and they go up to people and like, who are you voting for? And they're like, Kamala. And they're like, why? And they're like, I have no idea. They're like, who is your choice? Oh, Kamala Harris. What has she done to get your vote? She's a woman or she's black. That's the dumbest fucking thing to ever vote for. Stupid as fuck.
As
goes, if you're
I can't believe whoever wrote this is this tone deaf. And I can't believe she said it. I can't believe she said it, but here it comes.
as the saying goes, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Everybody around her should run, like absolutely run, like terrified, so she's talking about people being on the menu. Scatter, people, fucking flee. You'll possibly toss lunch meat up in the air and see if she grabs it.
So Gen Z, let's take our seat in our democracy and cast our ballot.
If that's a Gen Z woman, I feel extremely bad for Gen Z men. Fucking extremely, extremely, extremely bad. Right? I mean, that's horrible. And again, one more time, dear black people that went to the DNC, why are you letting these people use you like pawns? I don't get it. I don't understand.
It's this November for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Okay. She is really, really, really a big woman. Let's see here. Which, by the way, Mark had an interesting post earlier, and I just wanted to show it to you, just to give reference. Because this, by the way, now if you're leaner than this, they'll accuse you of being on steroids. That I get every single day. This used to be considered comically obese when Full Metal Jacket was filmed. This guy who would be considered in good fucking shape nowadays. That's how weak men have gotten. Most 21-year-old men look like they're Homer Simpson, and their testosterone levels are like 150. It's just disgusting. It's so fucking crazy. But back when Full Metal Jacket was filmed, back when I was in my teens and early 20s, this was fat. I mean, this was doughboy. And for good reason, by the way, because it's fat. Because this dude is fat. Like, this dude is not in good shape. This dude's in better shape than 99% of most people, most Gen Z men. But this dude is fat. And somebody in the comment section just asked if I'm up on Rumble. I am. We're on the Evening Rants Rumble. Type in Evening Rants on Rumble and go follow us there too. Join our locals. We're looking very forward to building on the locals and doing stuff like that. I'm not on my Alan Roberts Rumble right now. This is Evening Rants. I just decided to go live on my YouTube with this because this does, go in the realm of the stuff I normally talk about on my YouTube. And this one, hang on. This is actually her. This is her post, and I'm not asking anybody to go give this woman a hard time. I don't want anybody to make her feel bad because deep down she feels like shit anyway. Trust me, she does. Speaking as somebody that was also morbidly obese at one time, I can tell you that she feels like shit. She did it to herself though. Like every day she wakes up and harms herself. Every single fucking day. Every single day she wakes up and harms herself via food. And anybody in her life that does not step in every single day and say, hey, maybe you shouldn't glutton yourself to the point where, you haven't seen your own feet when you look down in a decade. If you don't tell your morbidly obese friends that you love them enough that you want to see them lose weight, you're just a pussy ass coward who's not a good friend. I'll say it louder for people in the back. If you know a morbidly obese person and you aren't daily trying to help them lose weight and encourage them to lose weight, you don't give a fuck about them. You are just trying to make it so you don't rattle the fucking cages of people around you, and you would rather watch them suffer and glutton themselves into an early grave than say something because you're weak. And if it's worse, if you're one of these dumb fucks that normally is a left-leaning wokey that says that, you're just fine at 300 pounds and don't let anybody tell you to lose weight and fat is beautiful and blah, 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 all that stupid shit, you are just a horrible fucking person. I understand that people call me a horrible person and I don't even give a shit if they do, because I would rather be considered a mean person and tell somebody the truth that might help save their life than to lie straight to their face about something that I know is not true. You see, the way we do this in society, it's this weird thing right now, right? Because political correctness is actually harming fat people. Like, political correctness is destroying fat people because basically, if you tell a person that they are fine when they're like 300 pounds, you better believe that they know deep down you're lying to them. And you know that deep down they know that you're lying to them. And then you both just pretend that you're not lying. And then the person that's fat as fuck continues to eat and eat and eat and eat. And then they get fatter and fatter and fatter. And then they die, or then they end up with type 2 diabetes. They end up burdening the system for many, many years before they die because they're going to be in pain and development of chronic illness, because reality exists, and a vast majority of all the comorbidities are literally derived from gluttony and obesity. The systemic inflammation that a body is in when they are morbidly obese helps cause cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, mental decline, Alzheimer's, kidney disease, osteoarthritis. It causes people to be crippled. It causes more strokes, and it is closely linked to more types of cancer than smoking cigarettes. Reality exists. It is a disgusting portrayal of how we don't actually make obesity a priority to address, because, you know, it amazes me that people don't see this, but this is how I know, and I can tell you, one, that I worked in the healthcare industry as an executive for a while, but also just because I know how to fucking read, that they want you sick, fat, and dependent upon them. If it wasn't political, if it wasn't being used by the people that run our government, and I'm not talking about our elected officials, I'm talking about the people that run our elected officials. I'm talking about the big corporate donors from the pharmaceutical industry and the big food industry that actually run most of our politicians. Not you, Thomas Massey, you fucking rock. But those people, I can honestly tell you, very clearly want you to be sick, fat, and dependent upon their pharmaceuticals and their food. We know, I mean, it is common knowledge that many foods are extremely addictive, and that we have a population that is fat as fuck. It is not your genetics. And that's another reason why we know it's gotten to be political too, because all of a sudden the healthcare industry is telling people that you're fat because of your genetics. I'm going to point a few things out to you of why that is complete bullshit. I don't have a whole long time. I've got about another 15 minutes before I have to go and set up a few things. But when you actually look at how this all came about, we were decently lean, healthy people in the 70s, 80s. You know, I graduated in 1989. Yes, I know I'm extremely old. And there was probably 2, maybe 3 fat people in the entire class of 500 people that I graduated with. One was a girl who, now that I look back on it, obviously had some very serious issues going on. We didn't really diagnose PCOS all that well then, and we definitely didn't diagnose hypothyroidism then. And there was another girl who I do believe that there was, likely looking back on it now, some very serious mental abuse, physical abuse in her household. And the other real fat guy was the high school center for the football team, who ended up being in the NFL. So he was fat on purpose to make his job. I do believe he actually has passed away already. Because he was fat as fuck in high school, and that is just unhealthy for you. And we always know this. And then we started with the food pyramid, where the literal federal fucking government decided that we should demonize fat, dietary fat, and promote ultra-processed foods in the form of ultra-processed grains. To suggest to a nation that you should eat 6 to 11 servings of ultra-processed grains is lunacy, especially when we look at it now. And after the demonization of fat by the sugar industry, because they paid lobbyists, this is all also fact. Like, just so everybody understands, sugar is likely the deadliest drug there is on the planet. Sugar and ultra-processed carbohydrates have probably killed more people than most communicable diseases together. You know? I mean, for instance, if we actually take, if we would count obesity deaths the same way we counted COVID-19 deaths, it would be like 1.5 million people a year. Because And just about like what, 90% of people with cardiovascular disease are obese, 80% of people with 90% of people with diabetes, obese, 70% of all cases of cancer are people that have obesity, 70% of all cases of stroke, obese. It's the plague. It is the actual pandemic. It is, it's definitely an epidemic, but it's turning into a pandemic worldwide. It is the actual problem. And instead of addressing it, our politicians are still not saying shit because, again, they get supported by the pharmaceutical industry and the food industry. That's their donors, and they are avoiding discussion of it. I don't know why. And our healthcare, public health officials, which, by the way, I would debate any public health official. I would debate Anthony Fauci right now and make him look like an idiot when it comes to this topic, because this is what I fucking do. But in 2020, when we realized that we had a new virus out, no matter how it came about, that was very problematic for elderly people, as the average age of passing away was over the age of life expectancy. It was something like the average age of life expectancy was 78, and people were dying at the age of 83 of the average in the United States. Insane. I mean, that's, by the way, that actually would negate it from being a pandemic, because relatively speaking, those are the people that do the dying. But when we realized that morbid obesity was also a huge risk factor, as it is for every possible communicable disease. Being morbidly obese puts you into a immunocompromised state due to the systemic inflammation that I spoke about earlier. And that, my friends, that is literally how it causes early death from communicable diseases, because you are basically gluttoned yourself to the frailty of an elderly person, right? But instead of saying, hey, everybody, we've got this new virus out, maybe we should, I don't know, try to unfatten the country. Maybe, since we are probably approaching 50% obesity, because while you hear everybody say that it's 42.5% obesity, those statistics were from 2017, published in 2018, which means they were gathered in 2015-16. You would think that maybe our public health officials would want to look out for our public health and lower obesity. But no, they don't even talk about it. Anthony Fauci has probably mentioned the word obesity twice, especially when it came to the pandemic. And the only reason why he mentioned the obesity epidemic was because we had so many obese people that's why we needed to actually lock the country down. I kid you not. He said it to Matthew McConaughey on a Facebook interview, which just sounds so weird to say anyway. But I'm also going to point out that our healthcare industrial complex is not the people that are going to take care of the obesity problem. It is we, the people, and the people that are going to encourage you to get healthy. We have people right now treating obesity, medical doctors prescribing basically experimental drugs, which I know people are like, oh, Ozempic's not experimental. Show me the 10-year testing. Show me the 15-year testing. Show me what this does when you've been on it for 20 years, like they say you're going to have to be on it. Show me the case studies where somebody has been on Ozempic for 15 years and they're fine. Show them to me. Show me the case studies where a large sample group of people have been on Ozempic semaglutide for 10 years and they're okay. Show it to me. Show me the 20,000 person study that shows that being on Ozempic for 10 years isn't going to kill you. I will wait. You will not be able to produce it. But that doesn't matter. They're going to prescribe it anyway, because that's what they do. However, the thing that's amazing is if you look at the healthcare industry, most of the people in the healthcare industry are also radically unhealthy, mostly morbidly obese. Many of them died very, very early due to the stress of their job, and also the fact that they eat like shit, get very little exercise, almost get no sunlight. Their vitamin D levels are in the toilet, and they're fat as fuck. But these people are the ones that are prescribing medications for it. The healthcare industrial complex is trying to convince the population that obesity is not actually from your actions, that it's mostly genetic. And that is kind of crazy, seeing as how the fuck would they know? They get like 2 fucking weeks of nutrition training, and then that's it. They know almost next to fucking nothing about keeping you healthy. They know how to treat acute injury and illness, and then they know how to manage sickness and illness. They know how to keep you alive while you're sick. We have most of the doctors do not even come close to addressing type 2 diabetes are just like, oh, you're type 2 diabetic. Instead of telling the person not to eat any sugar, not to eat any carbohydrates, just eat green leafy vegetables with some fiber and go to mostly meats and eggs, they tell the people just eat like normal and inject yourself with insulin when your blood sugar's out of whack. And that's the truth. I've had many clients come to me, which, by the way, thanks to our supplements, No Morbidity and Alchemy, which I'm going to show a little ad here in a second. Most of them that come to us that have been on Ozempic and stuff like that, get off of it, use our supplements, and then go on to a healthy, mindful nutrition program consisting of whole foods. And then they don't need to be on it anymore because we've reversed pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes in the dozens and dozens and dozens of cases. And it is amazing to me that they don't even tell people that it can be reversed and you can go from being pre-diabetic to not pre-diabetic and type 2 diabetic to not even diabetic at all. So has it become political? Yes and no. It's not like a left or right issue, because it's not like there's not plenty of people on the right that are fat as fuck. We've got plenty of people on the left that are fat as fuck. Now, I will say that most of the fat acceptance community are the same people that will, do all the flags in the bios and the pronouns and all that bullshit with the weird hair and love me for me and everything like that. Because, well, as I said before, they're childish and mentally ill because they're fat as fuck. Because you cannot be mentally healthy in 300 fucking pounds, as a woman especially. It's not even possible. Just in the mere fact that your hormones are completely out of balance, because obesity, fat, your body fat is an actual organ that produces estrogen. It is an estrogenic material. So therefore, when you are fatter as fuck, you are producing more estrogen. That's why, and this is no shit, that's why a 400-pound dude that is 5'5" and a 400-pound woman that's 5'5" naked look pretty much the same. You can't see their junk because the apron hangs over and hides their private shit, and they both have boobs, and they both are hairy as fuck too, because it fucks up your hormones. So has it become where it's a left and right thing? To a certain degree, yes. We definitely have way more people on the left saying, hey, we need to coddle these fucking people. These people are fat. They're not fat because of their own problems. We need to coddle them, blah, 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 blah. You're actually hurting those people, as I went over earlier. But we also have people on the right that are fat as fuck and just want to ignore it. Because, again, one more time, politicians on both sides are owned by the pharmaceutical and the food industry. And it's not even a fucking question, right? So this is my stint on why we should just view this the way it is. Obesity has become a political thing. However, it is not really a left or right thing. It is the people that run the country, that actually run the country with their money, the pharmaceutical and the food industries and the corporations around them, they run the politicians and the politicians run us. It works out for the politicians really, really well, because the fatter, sicker, and more dependent upon pharma and food that people are, the less likely they are to rise up in the face of oppression. And it works out for the pharmaceutical and the food industry, because the food industry, as people get more and more and more addicted to this food, they consume more and more and more of it, which is, again, why it's bad for the environment, because more packaging, more transportation, everything like that. And it also is good for the pharmaceutical industry, because you motherfuckers use a vast majority of the pharmaceutical resources. You're also the reason why we are literally... Obesity is a national security threat and a public health threat and an environmental threat. I don't even want these same people on the left that are saying how fat is beautiful should be pissed as fuck at fat people. Like, if you want to save the planet because you're one of these morons that believes that carbon going into the atmosphere is going to do something horrible to the planet besides, grow more plants. It is bad for the environment because the packaging, transportation, and all like that, the overconsumption that 100% of the time leads to obesity causes more waste to get put into the fucking environment. It is bad for the planet. And yet, all the climate change people don't even bring that shit the fuck up. So you're going to have to miss me with the climate change shit until people start telling people to lose weight. You're going to have to miss me with the, oh my God, we've got a new cold, we've got to lock up. When we didn't try to get people to lose weight before. Fuck, the country got fatter as fucker. since 2020, like way much fucking fatter. And instead of us being like, whoa, what the fuck you doing? You need to lose weight. We started coddling these bitches. We put fucking, a refrigerator-sized woman in Tess Holiday on the fucking cover of Cosmo, and we pretended that we thought Lizzo was attractive until like this last year. She looked like a melted fucking snow cone, and we are going to pretend that she was attractive because we were told to by the social media companies and by the mainstream media, when clearly you could tell a woman, hey, you look like Lizzo. When they would get pissed off, that's reality. So that is how I think that it has become political. It is not necessarily about a left or right thing. It is about a controlling interest party over we the people. And that is why we the people need to encourage all citizens to get as healthy, physically healthy as humanly possible in these next couple years, because the chances that we are going to need to defend ourselves get greater and greater and greater every single day. And I mean defend ourselves from a very serious threat. And we are not going to be able to do that if most of you motherfuckers are fat as fuck. And frankly, if it gets to that point, you are just in the way, and we will not try to save you because we will not have the ability to save you. You will not get saved. I mean, you should already be terrified, because if you're a 300-pound woman and you fall down and there's an emergency, it takes like 3 people to lift you. I mean, come on now. This is insane. This is insane. This is insane. So that is my stick on it. We will be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time to go over the live broadcast of RFK Jr., whatever he's going to say, whatever announcement he has. My name is Alan Roberts. I'm here for Mark Lobliner and myself for Evening Rants. Thank you very much for this quick and impromptu take on why I think that obesity has become political. Have a great day.
Ladies, come here. If you want to burn body fat, not just a little bit, but a lot, I got the perfect stack for you. It's 3 products. Ember, which is a powerful thermogenic that you take in the morning, suppresses your appetite to a degree, and it raises your metabolic rate and have you burning calories all day long. Alchemy. What Alchemy is going to do is it allows you to eat those carbs in your meal guilt-free. It's going to take those carbs and burn it off as fuel, so you have plenty of energy throughout the day. Before you go to bed, you're going to take no morbidity. It's the best part of the stack, because while you sleep a deep, restful sleep, it's going to be burning calories, burning fat all night long. So you're going to wake up not feeling groggy, feeling refreshed, ready to go about your day. So we got you covered all day long. This is called the Holy Trinity Stack. And ladies, it's for y'all, for the queens.